Cam Brate will miss some time after suffering a sprained neck. We tell you where the Bucs go from here at tight end, and David trashes a starter in this week's Stash It and Trash It. Let's go.
You are Locked On Buccaneers, your daily Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, and welcome to the Locked On Bucs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We are your daily podcast covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. And we thank you for making us your first listen or view of the day. I am James Yarcho, joined by my co-host who is chilling back in his home after traveling the nation over the course of the last week. His name is, of course, David Harrison. You should check out all of his written work over at BucsGameDay.com. Check out mine over at BucsNation.com. And, of course, follow everything on Twitter at LockedOnBucs, at JArco_Bucs, and at DHarrison82.
Thanks again for making us your first view or listen of the day. Today's episode brought to you by Bird Dogs, the most comfortable shorts, pants, and sweatpants with built-in liners. Go to birddogs.com, use the promo code LOCKEDON, and boom, you get a free Bird Dogs rope hat with your pair of Bird Dogs. I hope you weren't driving and I didn't scare you and you didn't do anything crazy.
I really thought you were going full John Madden and I was going to hear Tough Actin' Tinactin.
Rest in peace, Coach Madden. Absolutely. Yeah, so started the week in Virginia, then went to Chicago, then went to Pittsburgh. Now I'm back in Virginia. And I get to do it all again in 2 weeks when I go from Virginia to Tampa to Indy and eventually back to Virginia. Don't get me wrong. I truly love it. But oh, buddy, is it exhausting. I'll tell you who's not loving their situation as much as I am right now, and that is, of course, Cameron Brate, who we continue to send prayers to, thoughts to, in the moments following his injury. You know, some very scary stuff going down on the field. I suppose the good news, right, that we can take from this is that he's been diagnosed with a sprained neck, no signs of fractures, which is obviously much, much worse. Is going to miss some time. So that's the unfortunate part from the business side of things, from the football side of things. But yeah, I mean, you know, he goes over, makes the catch, he gets hit, he falls to the ground, he goes to the ground, and immediately, you know, from where we sat in the press box, James, we actually couldn't see him grabbing his head as it happened. Now, you know, obviously there was the replay, and then of course we saw it on the TV screens that were around the press box. The stadium didn't really replay it. You know, like I think they replayed it like once, and then that was about it, which I think was done out of respect for Cam. They kind of kept the wide angle of the entire stadium, and you could see the players all kind of gathering around him. But you know, the good thing, once he stayed down, obviously you're thinking concussion. That's kind of the first thought I think that everybody had in their mind was concussion. And you see his legs kicking, but it was, you know, controlled, right? It wasn't like flailing or like, you know, like you could tell he was in pain or he just wasn't, you know, good, which obviously is not a good situation, but it was like, you know, he was kicking his legs, like his legs weren't just flailing, he was doing it. So that's a good sign, right? Trainers come out and they're doing their thing, which of course we always, you know, appreciate the trainers getting out there quickly. When things really took a turn, and I don't know how it looked on the TV broadcast, but I mean, it felt like they were out there with him for a good couple of minutes, you know, 2-3 minutes. And at one point actually gotten up to throw some trash away. And, you know, standing next to Locked On Steelers host Chris Carter, you know, we happen to be kind of co-located in the press box. And he's like, hey, man, he's like, you know, I didn't fully get the name of the players. Like, oh, it's Cameron Brate. He's like, oh, man, he's like, isn't he just coming back from concussions? Like, yeah. So obviously there's that concern. He's like, yeah, man. I mean, the entire press box was just quiet. And then, you know, again, I don't know what it looked like on television, but like to us on the field, like the trainer just kind of like just rapidly shifted from like talking to Cam to frantically waving over more help. And that's when things got really scary from an observation standpoint. Because, you know, it's one thing you see a bunch of trainers around a guy talking to him, but when they started kind of just like waving over and saying, get over here, get over here, get over here, that's when things get concerning. Where, you know, we started, you know, we kind of pulled out the binos, started looking like our hands moving, our feet continue, you know, we saw his feet kicking, but like, are they still moving? Is he talking? Is he, you know, stuff like that. And I want to be clear, like it was a concern for Cam. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know we got to write articles and we got to do shows and all that stuff. But nobody was, at least nobody that I was around, right, was like, oh, who can be the first to tweet or who can be the first to do this? In fact, I wanted to send a tweet. I was like, I need to send a tweet out because this is what we do. But I was like, but how do I do it? So I think, all I sent was like, right now, all I can say is like prayers up to Cam Brate. Like, I think that's all because you know what I mean? Like, it's not that situation. Like, it's not the time for that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Afterwards, obviously Tom, every player in the locker room that was spoken to by a media member was asked about their thoughts, and every single one of them expressed a concern for Cam. And then we talked to the Buccaneers director of communications about it, and he kind of assured everybody, like, look, like, he's okay. They didn't know at the time if he was gonna be able to fly back with the team. We did find out later that he did fly back with the team, but like, he's okay. He's not movement. He's not feeling. They're just doing more tests. So yeah, so prayers up to Cam. Obviously, hope to see him back sooner rather than later. But scary situation for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. And as far as how it looked on TV, we didn't see much. You saw him go down. They went to commercial. They come back from commercial. The trainers are still talking to him. They go to commercial again. They come back, the stretcher and the cart are out. So yeah, obviously great news about Cameron Brate. And I remember tweeting from the Bucs Nation account, Cameron Brate is down, holding his head. And, there was obviously some concern about him returning from that concussion. And I don't think any of our listeners would do this. We interact with quite a few of them, and I don't get the impression that anyone would do this, but just as a public service announcement, had someone reply to my tweet about Cameron Brate being down and being tended to by trainers, someone replied to it by saying, he sucks. Don't be that person.
Bro.
Don't ever be that person.
Yeah, I mean, on top of it all, Brooke, his wife, used to work for the Buccaneers, used to work in one of the departments for the Buccaneers. So, I mean, like, yeah, I mean, nah, man.
Yeah, that ain't it. And then other people were kind of getting up in a tizzy that Tom Brady was throwing a football while Cameron Brate was being loaded onto a cart. Look, if Brady, I'm confident in saying, if Brady had gone over and been like, Cam, you good? And Cam would have said, yeah. And Brady said, I got to keep my shoulder loose. Do you mind if I throw? And Cam would be like, yeah, dude, go throw. Like, it wasn't disrespectful. It wasn't anything like that. It was just like a long delay in baseball. A pitcher has to keep his arm loose, has to keep his shoulder loose. Injuries happen. Every quarterback does that. Every single one.
Absolutely. Let me tell you, so I saw some tweets about that very thing. Listen, first of all, Tom didn't start throwing until basically there's a point in time, and we watched this. There were players, like, immediately, pretty much everybody's kind of like, oh man, like something's happening to him. And at a certain point in time, the trainers and the medical staff, they take over. That's their job. That's their scene. They take over. And there were players, on the Bucs side and on the Steelers side, trying to come over to kind of be like, hey, Cam, like, are you good? Or you're going to be okay, buddy, or whatever they want to say to him. And there were medical staff pushing them away because they need to deal with the patient, and they need the patient to listen to what they're saying and do what they need him to do. They don't need, and that, like, Cam knows that his teammates have his back. They know that what he's going through is scary. None of them want to go through it. They could go the very next snap. Any one of them could be going through the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. So they empathize. They get it. But Cam also knows, because he's been in this league for a very long time, that there's another play that's got to happen. You know what I mean? And in that moment, I mean, just watching the next snap and like pulling out my notebook, and taking all my note and like getting back into that from a press box standpoint is very hard. I don't know what it is from the fan standpoint, especially if you're drunk, you probably don't care either way. But from a teammate standpoint, like, some of those guys talked about, they're like, yeah, it's a little, getting going, like the very next play, it's, it's a little weird and it's a little hard, but you eventually you have to kind of get back into it. But Tom, like, that's what he's supposed to do. He's an NFL quarterback. He's 400 years old. His shoulder, he's had some shoulder issues already this year. He's had some finger issues already this year. He is going back to business because you have to get back to business. And the closest thing I can even draw to it is having gone to a memorial service before I went out on a mission in a combat zone.
That's
so Unless you've
A little
been
more
in
serious.
one of those types of scenarios, you have no idea what that person is going through. And honestly, the therapy of going back to some sort of routine and how helpful that is, and how the other person on the other end of that incident wants nothing than for their teammates to go and do what they need to do, because that's what they're all grinding and working for, is to do exactly that.
All right. Well, David, we are going to talk about how the Buccaneers are going to address the tight end situation, and we're going to stash it and trash it coming up in just a moment. But why don't we hear from our buddy JT from Texas before we hit this break?
JT from Texas, calling in about that crappy game. I'm so upset. There's so many bad things going on in that game. Between the blocking, the fact that defense couldn't stop anything at third down. They were good the rest of the game, but third down didn't care if it was short or long. They weren't stopping anything. I don't understand the whole 12 guys on the field. How do you not call a timeout when you see your guy running off the field? You have timeouts. That's why you have them. Our coaching has not been good this year. It really hasn't. I kind of feel like the Jets when he was their head coach. They said we have a Hall of Fame quarterback that can't throw the ball to any of the receivers. Most of them should be able to catch. I don't know why Evans ain't in the red zone. I mean, he's a red zone target. I don't understand why we couldn't get it to him in the red zone. Not a lot of, besides the kicking, not a lot of good to say this week. Y'all have a good one. Maybe next week. Go Bucs.
All right, JT, thanks for the call. We're going to hear from other Bucs fans later on in this episode, but right now we're going to hear from our friends over at Bird Dogs, because Bird Dogs just launched a line of sweatpants. They're super comfortable. They're like the cute little Charmin bears rubbing up against your thighs. And I know it kind of sounds weird, guys, but believe me, it's true. When I got my bright pink box on my porch, which, listen, no shade to any guy that can pull off pink. I ain't it. All right, I'm not that guy. But I got this pink box. I opened it up. I grabbed the pants and I pulled them out of the bag they came in. And as soon as my hand touched them, literally, James, I looked at my wife and I said, these things are soft. Like, whoa, these things are soft. I put them on and I like, they just got softer. Like, it was amazing. I'm not even gonna lie. I wore them for longer than I should have consecutively. Like, they're just comfortable, and I'm going to buy some more. I've got some more on the way. But I also got shorts. So if you still wear shorts in the winter, doesn't matter if you're in Florida or 10-degree weather in New England or Chicago, they have a signature short with built-in liners, the most comfortable shorts in existence. So if you want to get in on all this stuff that I'm describing to you, go to birddogs.com, enter the promo code Locked On, and they'll throw in a free Bird Dogs rope hat. That's birddogs.com, promo code Locked On, and boom, you get a free Bird Dogs rope hat with your pair of Bird Dogs, the most comfortable shorts, pants, and sweatpants with built-in liners. You will not take these things, or you won't want to take them off. I promise you. Again, go to birddogs.com, promo code Locked On.
As you gear up for fall, you need the right people on your team to help your small business fire on all cylinders. LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find people you want to talk to faster and for free. You can create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Then you add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring so your network can help you find the right people to hire. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so that you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. I've told all of you before about becoming a catering chef for a place because they found me on LinkedIn. I found them on LinkedIn. It was a perfect match. I had the job by the end of the day. They knew what they were looking for. I knew what I was looking for. And thanks to LinkedIn, we linked up. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number one in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know that every week, nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl.
Thanks again for making the Locked On Bucs podcast first listener, first view every single day. Make sure you're also checking out the NFL key predictions every Friday on Locked On NFL. Locked On's local experts give you the inside scoop on the 5 biggest games of the NFL week, including Sunday and Monday Night Football, plus betting advice from the field's leading experts. Bets online. Follow NFL key predictions every Friday on Locked On NFL, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get podcasts. James, the tight end conversation, Cam Brate, all that stuff. I'm not going to lie, kind of took me to a place that I really didn't expect. Like, I knew the conversation was coming because it's in the script, but as we're talking about, it kind of took me to a place I didn't expect to take me. That happens every once in a while, so I apologize if things got a little too real for people out there. But look, that's just the truth of the business. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Not always pretty, but it's got to get done. But let's wrap up the conversation on obviously Cam. I'm hoping he's doing well. You know, Tom, and anything else that might
absolutely follow. Yeah, well, and I mean, like you said, the job's got to get done, right? So where do the Bucs go from here at the tight end position? The obvious answer is, of course, the continuing play of Cade Otton, right? He stepped up, had a big day against the Atlanta Falcons. He came in substitution for Cam Brate. Now, he was playing in the game along with Cameron Brate. But after Brate left the game, Otton, a couple of quick targets, couple of quick receptions. I think they're going to continue with that. And I love Cam, and we've said it over and over and can't stress it enough. Hope he makes a full recovery. Hope he's all right. Everything's good. But this is now the opening for Cade Otton to put a stranglehold on this position. I called for it last week after his performance with against the Atlanta Falcons. Now you have a window here where you can absolutely take control of this position and keep it. And we love Cam Brate. We love everything he's done for this football team. But if you can seize the opportunity, a la Tom Brady stepping in for Drew Bledsoe and take over that position and be that legit target at tight end, you take it, you run with it. And I expect that out of Cade Otton.
Yeah, absolutely. Cade's a nice young talent. Look, I want to shout out Keith too. I know we're about to get into stash it and trash it. So bonus stash, Keith. I mean, lining up in line as a tight end, lining up as a fullback, shifting in as a fullback, special teams, getting down the field on several kick return coverages. I know kick return didn't do all that well start the second half, but look, Keith is out there doing his thing. So speaking of stash and trash it, James, let's move into that segment of today's episode. Absolutely. I'm going to go first. My stash it is the kicking game. Before anybody out there laughs and rolls their eyes and says, oh, great, now we're talking about the kicking game. That's how bad things have gone. The Bucs have had 5 kickers try at least 10 field goals and make 80% or more. That's not from a certain year. That's the entirety of their existence. They've had 5 kickers in the entirety of their existence, guys, try at least 10 field goals. That's it. That's not even a full season's worth of kicks and make 80% or more. Steve Christie did it 90-91. Matt Bryant, of course, 2005 to 2008. I guess either way works. Connor Barth from 09 to 12, and then again 15 total. That's what his numbers are. Patrick Murray, 14 and 17, and now Ryan Succop, 2020 2022. So listen, current day Bucs fans, James, like to I don't want to say moan, but like to kind of harp on how bad the kicking has been in like this era's fandom. Guys, the first kicker in Bucs history to have more than 10 field goal tries and make 80% or more of them, Steve Christie in 1990. Yeah. Like that's, and then 15 years again till it happened again. Like that. So there have been some much worse stretches, but still we need to show some appreciation for Ryan.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely beats the days of the Roberto Aguayos and the Chandler Can't Kick Anzaros. Shout out to those of you that remember when I used to say that on the podcast all the time.
Speaking of which, there was actually a podcast series about kickers done on the Locked On Network, and the final episode was about Roberto Aguayo. It's actually a very interesting episode. Like, go hear kind of his story, not just from like the Bucs, but like high school, college, and kind of go through it. I'm not gonna lie, a little bit of excuse making going on, I think, from Roberto. You know what I mean? But it's a very interesting story. So I think you guys, go check it out. I mean, if you just search Roberto Aguayo in your podcast feeder, I don't know how many episodes are going to have that name in their title, so you'll probably find it pretty quick.
All right. Well, my stash it is going to be Antoine Winfield Jr. Over the last 2 weeks, Antoine has 13 tackles, 2 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, and a pass defense. He has been balling out over the last couple of weeks, and somebody needs to. Unfortunately, he wasn't in a position where he could have stepped up and made a big play on one of those third down conversions late in the game, give the Bucs an opportunity to get the offense back on the field and let David's stash it, Mr. Ryan Succop, win the game for them. But Antoine Winfield Jr. has stepped up big time over the last couple of weeks, being a leader, both, with his play and, of course, just being the person that he is. You love to see it. Let's go ahead and flip things. Let's talk about trash and stuff. And every single one of our listeners that listened to either one of our episodes that dropped on Sunday/Monday knows exactly where I'm going. It's the red zone offense. For those that didn't hear the postcast, I'll rip through it again real fast. Outside of the Kansas City Chiefs game, the Buccaneers are scoring touchdowns at a 33.3% rate in their trips inside the red zone. They were 1 for 4 on Sunday. No targets for Mike Evans inside the red zone, inside the end zone. You had it, and people were in the comment section giving me grief, talking about, if Russell Gage catches that, that pass to him in the end zone, the Bucs win this game. Yeah, well, pass was low, pass was short, made a diving attempt. Should he have caught it? Yeah, absolutely. Was it a good pass? It was not. Multiple times this season, the Bucs have had 1st and goal inside the 5. They can't seem to figure it out. Someone needs to. It's got to get fixed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Russell Gage or anybody else. Like, if it's Russell Gage, fantastic. If not, it needs to be somebody else, and it probably needs to be Mike Evans and or Chris Godwin. What's that?
Always Mike Evans. Even Gerald McCoy was tweeting about, like, for the love of God, somebody throw the ball to Mike Evans.
Right, Gerald McCoy. He used to wear a number for this team. My trash shit is going to be the punt returner, Jaelon Darden. And listen, it was bad. He's 18th in the NFL in return yards per punt right now, tied for 3rd in fair catches. And those two stats alone don't tell you a whole lot, but what you see with your eyeballs is that this man don't like to get hit. If you want to know what Kenny Bell would have looked like fielding punts, watch Jaelon Darden on Sunday for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Either he's got to get better or they got to find someone different. Jaelon Darden as a punt returner, trash what we see right now. Again, if Jaelon can fix it, fantastic. Like, I'm not just saying cut Jaelon, but something's got to get figured out there, James. That's my trash. That's really all I'm going to say about it. I think that's all that needs to be said about it. But we got more to say on this episode. Before we say stuff, let's hear Mo say some stuff himself.
James, David, it's your boy Mo Mackin out here in San Jose. It's the most disappointing game I have ever seen in Bucs football. And I watched Jameis Winston play football. This is a team that's supposed to be a juggernaut on offense with all its players. I've seen them get outplayed, outcoached. 3rd down defense is atrocious. I have no words. I appreciate you guys. Go Bucs. Can't get worse than this, right? I hope not.
Mo, appreciate the call. And yes, it can get worse than this. I will see your Jameis Winston, and I will raise you a Josh McCown, a Bruce Gradkowski, a Josh Freeman, a Mike Glennon, a Josh Johnson. So many bad quarterbacks. Anyway, we need to give a big shout out to our friends over at Prize Picks. How does it work? Pick 2 to 5 players, and if they will score more or less than their Prize Picks projections, you can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. No competing against other people. It's just you against the projections available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport that you can watch, including the NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, PGA, college football, college basketball. They're going to have pickleball on there once Tom Brady's team is out there playing in this professional pickleball league, disc golf, cricket, and more. Safe and fast withdrawals, currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. Download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. If you deposit 100, 75, 50, 20, 40, 67, Prize Picks is going to match it all the way up to $100. Just don't forget to enter the promo code Locked On at sign up for that instant deposit match up to $100. Wrapping things up here on a Tuesday edition of Locked On Bucs Podcast. David, Loke Dog was traded, which affects the Buccaneers this coming week. That's right. The Carolina Panthers, after giving their wide receiver, Robby Anderson, the Antonio Brown treatment and shipping him off to the tunnel during the game, have traded him to the Arizona Cardinals for a 2024 sixth rounder and a 2025 seventh rounder. This affects the Bucs 3 different times because they have Carolina this week. They'll play Carolina again later this season, and they play the Arizona Cardinals on Christmas. So, your thoughts on how this affects the upcoming matchup with the Carolina Panthers, and for our fantasy players out there, is this to you an indication that Marquise Hollywood Brown's injury that he suffered on Sunday is a little bit more serious than was initially thought, and they needed to bring in a burner, somebody that could go deep for Kyler Murray to target when DeAndre Hopkins is inevitably quintuple teamed?
Yeah, so talking about this weekend, I think what this does really is just it honest, and I hate to go to this headspace right now, but just with everything going on, this is kind of where we're at. If the Buccaneers lose this game, like, people are just, I don't know if you can burn down a show, but people are going to burn our show down. Like, they're just, we didn't even do anything, but they're going to burn our show down. Like, that's basically what's going to happen. The truth of the matter is, like, Robby Anderson, I mean, he's a third leading receiver on the Panthers roster, I guess, receptions, but he only has 13. I mean, it's 6 games total. He's got 13 catches. I mean, it's not like this guy was setting the world on fire for them anyway. There's a lot of problems going on in Carolina, and I think really it's just a sign that they're kind of just selling everything and selling. We know that Christian McCaffrey is being talked about as a trade target. I wouldn't be surprised if DJ Moore is also being talked about, just not reported as widely as these other guys are. As far as what it means for Arizona, I mean, I don't know if it's so much a sign of Hollywood Brown as much as it is kind of a sign with Kyler Murray. Like, you pay Kyler Murray all this money and you have all the conversations. Like, they got to do is whatever they can to give him as many weapons as possible, because we already know, because we've already seen that when push comes to shove, if things don't go right for the Cardinals, Kyler Murray is absolutely not going to stand up and take responsibility for it. He's going to push it onto anybody that he possibly can. So if you're the Arizona Cardinals, and you're especially Cliff Kingsbury and John Keim, like, you want to be able to, when Kyler goes out there and says, well, I mean, if I had some more help, maybe we can win the game, then they want to be able to say DeAndre Hopkins, Hollywood Brown, Robby Anderson, Christian McCaffrey, I don't know, like, whatever else they're going to do from here on out. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think it has more to do with that, of the Cardinals needing to make sure that they've given Kyler as much as they can to be successful than it is anything else. But it absolutely could also be indicative of Hollywood Brown's injury being more severe than, we're being told, because that's the nature of the business as well.
All right. Well, yep. The Bucs go from facing Robby Anderson twice to only facing him once, and that won't be until Christmas Day. And who knows? Maybe by then he will have gotten in a fight with another position coach, been thrown off the field again and cut from the Cardinals, and who knows? I don't know. Loke Dog not having a great time in Carolina, so hopefully he bounces back and does well in Arizona. With that, David, we are going to get out of here. Thank you to JT and Mo for your calls, and Todd in Tampa for giving us a call. Your comment has been filed away with the appropriate authorities and will be considered. Also, NFL Plus was just trying to do you a solid, bro. But yeah, NFL Plus stinks. Thank you for making Locked On Bucs your first listen every day. Now make your second listen to the Peacock and Williamson NFL show. Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson give you the expert NFL analysis in less than 30 minutes. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. I will be back tomorrow with my dude, Evan Klosky. I'm sure he will have plenty to say about this performance, and we will turn the page and look ahead to those Carolina Panthers. If you have anything that you'd like to add, anything you'd like to ask, go ahead and give us a call at 813-444-5841 or send us an email to lockedonbuckspodcast@gmail.com. Check out David's work over at bucksgameday.com. Check out mine at bucksnation.com. Follow everything on Twitter at LockedOnBucks, at JYarcho_Bucks, at DHarrison82. Hope you all have an absolutely outstanding day. Stay safe, stay healthy, fire those cannons. We thank you so much for joining us right here at Locked On Bucs.